Are you experiencing stress, anxiety, or unhappiness? Do you feel weighed down by the past? Stay tuned for a special message from Roland, host of the Shedding Shackles radio program. For over 25 years, Roland has been helping people shed the shackles of unhappy memories, consisting of upset, hurt feelings, and negative emotions that bind them to the past. Over the years, many people have listened to and benefited from Roland's positive message. Perhaps you too can discover the secret to becoming free from the past and moving forward to live a new life of joy and purpose. And now, here's your Shedding Shackles host, Roland Trujillo.
Hi, this is Jeremiah Trujillo, the producer of Shedding Shackles. When you send a gift of any amount, you'll receive one of Roland's ebooks, including Putting the Forever Back in Love, Forbidden Food, and Becoming a Friend of God. Simply go to sheddingshackles.com and click on the right-hand icon, Ebooks.
Welcome back. In this program, I've been talking about how you fell away from truth and became separated from truth, and separated from love, and separated from understanding, and separated from God, by way of emotions, and by way of doubt, and by way of anger, and by way of resentment. Now you must find your way back. But in the process, along the way of being separated, you became selfish. But as I'm going to explain, you couldn't help but become selfish. Because you were needy for love, needy for answers, and you looked to the world. Now you must discover how to look within. When you were a little child, you were separated from your ground of being. Had you remained close to the inner light from God, which you had when you were born? When you were born, you had this light. And when you were a little child, you perceived in the light, you saw things. You saw injustice, for example. You just saw it. But as time went by, well, people emotionalized you. That's right. They emotionalized you. They wanted you to respond to them, to react to them. And you did, and you couldn't help it because you were only a little child. But when you did, then you began to fall away from this beautiful inner light in which you walked as a little child. You fell away from it gradually. Through a series of little traumas or a series of big traumas, you fell away. And then what substituted for? Well, the mist of emotion and imagination and thoughts. And as life went on, more and more you lived in a world of thinking, endless thinking, worrying, planning, scheming, daydreaming, an endless loop of thought and emotions. Anger and hurt feelings and resentment and all kinds of emotions. And they rose up, and then you fell away from the inner light from God until almost you didn't even know it was there anymore, except once in a while it came back as conscience. You felt it as conscience, but now you must return to it. And when you do, you can begin to learn how to live as you could have lived when you were a little child. If you had stayed close to what you knew in your heart, and you had never been emotionalized, and you'd never hated people, that's the main thing. If you'd never resented people, especially your parents, your mom and your dad for failing and your mom for whatever she did, you would have been on a trajectory straight to God. And you would have grown in stature and blessings, and life would have been a wonderful adventure. Something like Adam and Eve knew before the fall. But you did fall. But it's not so bad that you fell, because now you'll be able to learn of God's forgiveness and of His mercy and of His love and of His kindness. You'll be able to learn and experience those. If you had never fallen, if you had never done wrong, then you wouldn't need His mercy. You wouldn't need His forgiveness, you see? So now you discover that, and it's good. But you must return to this inner light. You must learn to be still and refine the inner light, which now you only know as anxiety or conscience. And then in this inner light, when you begin to walk in this light again, once again, as you did when you were a little tiny child, now you'll be able to discover how to be unselfish. See, the point that I was going to make earlier is that when you fell away from the life from God. Then you lost that. Then you had to substitute another life, a life of emotions, a life of thinking, a life of external hungers. And you satisfied the external hungers because you felt empty. When you fell away from God's love, you felt empty and unloved, and then you looked for love in the world. And you kept looking, but it's like drinking seawater. The more you get, the hungrier you are, the thirstier you are, the emptier you are. So now that you've experienced that, now you know there is such a thing as true love, but you have to find it. You have to refine your Creator. But what I was going to say is that you became naturally selfish. You couldn't help it. Because you needed, from the outside, you needed more and more and more. And you looked to relationships, and you looked to food, and you looked to drugs, and to marijuana, and you looked to alcohol, and you looked to work, and you looked to everything. And you looked to words, especially you crave people's words of approval and support and reassurance. And so you needed those things. You became hungry for them and greedy for them. And so, yes, you became selfish. And then you probably hated yourself. You resented yourself when you saw your own selfishness, but it doesn't do any good. So now all you must do is stand back. Stand back. Stop struggling. Stop trying to save yourself. Stop trying to make yourself unselfish in the eyes of others. And just take time. If you took 1/100th of the time that you spend trying to solve everything and make yourself look good and make up for this and do, if you spend 1/100th of the time sitting quietly with a little meditation, learning to be still, then you would accomplish 1,000 times as much. So learn to be still. Learn to see your own selfishness without resenting yourself. See your own wrong and just see it. That's all. Just see it in God's light. Ultimately, and the bottom line is that's about all we can do is just see. When you were a little child, you saw things. See. And like magic, you'll begin to change. God will change you. You can't change yourself. He will change you. And one day you wake up and you discover that where you had once been selfish, now you're unselfish. It's beautiful. See, the human being fell by dividing truth from love. By dividing truth from love, the human being fell from the heavenly estate within and fell into the flesh. See, that's how we became animal. Now you must become rehumanized again. You become more like you were when you were a little child. You were closer to God when you were a little tiny child than you've ever been since. Christ said, unless you become as a little child, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. And so you must be rehumanized. You must refine that happy-go-lucky spirit, that blithe spirit, that carefree spirit, and enjoy God's beautiful earth. And stop resenting people. Stop resenting your wife. See that she's just a lady. And stop judging your husband. See that he's just a man. And be patient with your kids. Be patient with them. Enjoy them, all the cute little things that they do. And stop pressuring them. And life will be sweet. And you will start returning to your Creator, the one who made thee. And yes, He is kind, and He is gracious. And you will find that out too. Not because I say so, but because that's the way it'll be when you turn toward your Creator and stop resenting other people. Never mind whether you're all messed up or not. It doesn't matter. Do you love God? Deep down in your heart, you love what's right. You love what's sweet. You love the innocence of children. Well, then you love God. And you know what? The journey begins. Just learn to be still. Get the little meditation and You'll be on your way. Guaranteed. Are you interested in improving your relationship with your partner? Or how about improving your relationship with your kids if communication is not so good? Okay, and then how about getting rid of hurt feelings and misunderstandings and so on? Well, then you really ought to read one of my books about relationships and about marriage. And one of the ones that I don't talk about a lot, I should talk about more, is my book called Putting the Forever Back in Love. Oh, what a wonderful book. It's over 300 pages, Putting the Forever Back in Love. I talk about how to improve your relationship, what to do if your wife asks you to leave, how to forgive and forget, okay? How to stay married for a long time and live happily ever after, how to develop character and learn to bear suffering and grow from it, okay? And how to have understanding when you deal with other people, okay? And how not to judge your husband so much and how not to resent your wife. Well, may I recommend you get Putting the Forever Back in Love. Just visit sheddingshackles.com or talktoapastor.org and you can preview it for free. It's also on Amazon. Putting the Forever Back in Love. I think you'll really enjoy it. I'm here to help you by simply awakening you to what you know in your heart, because that comes from God. That was the beginning. That was your innocence. That was your sweetness. That was your perceptiveness. And you've set it aside. Now you must refine it. So, may I recommend that you get the little meditation that will teach you how to become still and get a little separation from those thoughts that now pull you into them and those emotions that pull you into them. When you stand back, you're free to realize, you're free to understand, and you're free to be patient. But when you're lost in your emotions and your thoughts, you're not free. You are compulsive, and you move with impatience or anger or resentment. Stand back, and you will discover a whole new way of living. And you will also discover something else. Not because I say so, but because that's the way it will be. You'll discover God's gracious forgiveness and His kindness. And life becomes sweet. Until next time, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Shedding Shackles with your host, Roland Trujillo. Now you can listen to Roland anytime by logging on to www.sheddingshackles.com. You'll find lots of free, helpful information, and you can also order materials or make a donation by using your credit card. Once again, the web address is sheddingshackles.com. Please remember that Shedding Shackles is listener-supported. Thank you.